My friends, let's do a soul tribe reading. I wanted to get a few more of those wounding cards for you today. That's what I was using last week. I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get into it. I took yesterday off because I was just I was tired. I know you guys could tell I was tired the other day. So I took the day off and I feel much better now. But yeah, I wanted to get a few of these sacred wounding cards again. And just keep in mind, this can be a little bit triggering. I often resonate with little bits and pieces of each one. And I was looking in this book yesterday and I realized that there's probably about approximately 200 wounds listed in this deck. And then we're going to continue reading the inner work. So like I said, I hope you're doing well. Let's get into it. We're just going to jump right in today. Usually I have some story to tell you, but I've just got nothing right now. I've just got nothing. So let's see what wounding we're going to look at today for Soul Tribe. So I did leave out the cards that we got the other day just so we don't get repeated cards because it is a lot to read to you if you've already heard it. But yeah, let's begin. So what wounding are we looking at today? So, we are looking at healing a lack of agency wound and needing to heal from reactive abuse. Whoa, I just hit myself in the face. So, that often happens when I wear these sweaters. I usually hit myself in the face with these things. I also being autistic, I like to stim with these. But healing a lack of agency wound. So I'm guessing that's L. Yes, I'm right. So the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. Alice Walker. The lack of agency wound convinces you that life is something that happens to you rather than something you have the power to shape. It is the belief that your choices don't matter, that your voice carries no weight, and that your circumstances define you. This wound is often born from a history of being silenced, dismissed, or made to feel incapable of making decisions for yourself. Over time, it manifests as indecisiveness, self-doubt, and the tendency to wait for permission rather than boldly claiming what you want. Guilty. You may feel stuck, trapped in cycles. Why did I want to say agents? You may feel stuck, trapped in cycles of passivity, wondering when it will finally be your turn to live. Healing this wound begins with recognizing that your power was never taken from you. You were only taught to forget it. Every time you make a choice that honors your truth, every time you assert your needs without apology, every time you stop waiting for your life to change and instead step forward, you reclaim your agency. You do not need permission to take up space. You do not need validation on your own to own your path. The moment you stop believing the lie that you are powerless is the moment you begin to truly live. Journaling prompts. When did I first start believing that I had little control over my own life? Do I hesitate to make decisions? If so, why? How do I react when someone asks, I'm laughing because this just happened to me. How do I react when someone asks me what I want? Do I have a clear answer? And now I'm going to talk about this. Because yesterday somebody asked me what I wanted. And I said, I hesitated because I started thinking about, well, what do they want? And I had such a hard time telling them what I really wanted. And I even said, are you going to give me even a little bit of an inkling of what you want? And they said no, because they knew that I was people pleasing. And they said, I want to know what you want. And then I'll tell you what I want. Because they knew, and I was very honest with the fact that my first instinct is to overthink it and worry too much about what someone else wants rather than what I truly want. And I have a hard time speaking up about my needs and things like that. So that made me laugh because that just happened to me yesterday, and I was challenged to, in a healthy way, I was challenged to think about what I wanted. And even when I did that, I still overthought it, and I still had a problem with it. Anyway, do I have a clear answer? No, I did not have a clear answer. Have I ever given away my power by allowing others to make choices for me? What fears arise when I consider taking full responsibility for my life? How do I associate personal agency with pressure or freedom? Have I ever blamed external forces for my circumstances rather than looking at my own role? I embrace my authentic self without apology. Affirmation. So fitting for this one. If I fully trusted my own ability to shape my future, what actions would I take today? What small step can I take right now to reclaim control over my path? How would my life change if I truly believed I had the power to choose my own destiny? So, a deep-seated belief that one has little to no control over their own life, often resulting from past experiences of powerlessness, oppression, or being conditioned to rely on external authority for direction. This wound manifests as difficulty making decisions, an over-reliance on others for validation, or feeling trapped in circumstances without the ability to change them. There may be an ingrained fear of taking responsibility for one's path, leading to hesitation, self-doubt, and a tendency to follow rather than to lead. Some may struggle with asserting their needs, fearing conflict or rejection, while others may suppress their desires entirely, believing they are unworthy of autonomy. Emotionally, this wound can create feelings of helplessness, stagnation, or resentment towards those who seem to have control. Physically, it may manifest as chronic fatigue, as I was just talking about how I was tired and needed a day off. What? Digestive issues or a hunched posture, symbolizing shrinking away from personal power. I do hunch. Over time, lack of agency can lead to missed opportunities, feeling disconnected from personal purpose, and difficulty trusting oneself. Watch for patterns of indecision, feeling stuck in repetitive cycles, or believing that life is something that happens to you rather than something you can shape. And I have to stress that even reading this, I know that I've made huge leaps and bounds as someone who's, following my personal path. And there was one that we talked about the other day, though, where you may feel confident in your career and you may feel confident in some areas of your life and then lack it in other areas of your life. And that's what I'm finding right now, is that these wounds that I've been working so hard on for years, sometimes they still flare up a little. I didn't resonate with all of this, but I definitely resonated with a few bits and pieces. Anyway, healing is a lifelong journey. Suppressing the lack of agency wound by either passively surrendering to life's circumstances or aggressively, that's not an affirmation, or aggressively overcompensating through control and rigidity. Instead of addressing the root fear of autonomy, some may convince themselves that they are powerless, adopting a victim mentality, waiting for others to take charge. That one I'm guilty for. I've worked very hard on victim mentality, but waiting for others to take charge, I am guilty of that. Or blaming external circumstances. This can manifest as avoiding responsibility, struggling to make even small choices, or believing that fate, karma, or other people dictate their destiny. Others may go in the opposite direction, grasping for extreme control, micromanaging every detail of their lives, or avoiding spontaneity to maintain a sense of stability. Some may develop a hyper-independent mindset, refusing to accept help out of fear that relying on others means giving up their power. Watch for patterns of over-controlling behaviors, excessive deference, is that how you say it, to authority, or rejecting opportunities due to fear of personal responsibility. Beneath both extremes lies the same longing to reclaim sovereignty over one's own life and trust in the ability to make empowered choices. And part of the reason I tell you when I feel I'm like guilty is because to me, healing these wounds, half of the battle is being like aware of them and being self-aware. So many people are just not aware of the woundings they have or the behaviors they have. I'm very aware. And that's why I say it when I feel guilty, because I'm trying to inspire others. It's okay to admit that you have wounding. It's okay to admit, like, oh, I've really worked hard on this wound, but oh, wow, I still struggle with that in some areas of my life, you know? Anyway, needing to heal from reactive abuse. So that's R. When a toxic person can no longer control you, they will try to control how others see you. Reactive abuse is the moment you are pushed beyond your breaking point, when relentless manipulation, gaslighting, and provocation lead you to finally snap, only to have, and I call that my Queen of Swords, only to have your reaction weaponized against you. It is the abuser's final trick, to shift blame, to paint you as the unstable one, and make you question whether you were the problem all along. This wound convinces you that your emotions are dangerous, that your anger is shameful, and that no matter how much you were provoked, you should have stayed calm. Over time, it creates deep self-doubt, self-blame, and an overwhelming fear of your own emotional responses. Healing the reactive abuse wound begins with reclaiming your right to feel. Your reaction does not erase the abuse that led to it. Your anger is not proof that you are broken. It is proof that you were pushed beyond what was bearable into your Queen of Swords energy. The work is not in suppressing your emotions, but in understanding them, in learning to self-regulate without silencing yourself. You are not defined by how you responded under extreme distress. You are defined by how you reclaim your voice, your truth, and your self-trust moving forward. Your emotions are not your enemy. The only thing that ever needed to be controlled was the situation that forced you to react. Journaling prompts. Have I ever questioned whether my emotional reactions were valid or manipulated against me? Do I carry guilt or shame over past emotional outbursts, even when they were provoked? How do I typically respond to conflict? Do I suppress, overreact, or try and justify my emotions? Have I ever been made to feel like the problem in a situation where I was actually defending myself? Do I struggle to express anger without fearing judgment or retaliation? What early experiences shaped my beliefs about emotional reactions and their consequences? Have I ever apologized for my emotions? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Have I ever apologized for my emotions just to keep the peace, even though I was not at fault? How can I differentiate between a healthy emotional response and a reaction triggered by past wounds? What would it look like to reclaim my emotions without shame or fear of invalidation? All right. So, a wound formed by repeated cycles of psychological, emotional, or physical manipulation, where a person is pushed to an extreme reaction that is later used against them. This manifests as shame, self-blame, and confusion, often making individuals question their own sanity and integrity. Some may feel trapped in guilt, believing that they are just as bad as their abuser due to their defensive reactions. Others internalize the belief that they are volatile and incapable of controlling emotions even when provoked. There may be a lingering fear of confrontation, emotional suppression, or hyper-awareness in relationships, leading to anxiety and self-doubt. Physically, this wound can show up as jaw tension, holding back emotions, headaches, mental exhaustion, or digestive issues. They all have digestive issues. Over time, unresolved reactive abuse can lead to self-isolation, distrust of one's emotions, and difficulty advocating for oneself without fear of being framed as a problem. Watch for patterns of over-apologizing, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it. And every time somebody's like, you apologize too much, it's annoying how much you apologize. I'm like, I'm working on it. I am working on it. And if those people could see my channel 2 years ago, well, not 2 years ago, it's not 2 years old yet, but if those people could see how much I apologized when I first started my channel, they would see a difference. Because when I first started my channel, that was one of the things all of you used to tell me, is stop apologizing for existing. And now I'm actively working with my children because, you know, they learned from me. I'm actively working with my children to release that need to over apologize as well. Doubting reactions or struggling to express anger without shame. Suppressing the reactive wound by either rejecting emotional expression, believing strong reactions are dangerous, or justifying anger excessively. Some cope by shutting down, fearing any emotional expression will be used against them, leading to numbness and avoidance of confrontation. Others compensate by constantly seeking validation, using past experiences to justify unchecked reactions, or lashing out preemptively. This can cause defensiveness, emotional dysregulation, or mistaking outbursts for empowerment. Some suppress this wound by gaslighting themselves, believing they were the problem, rather than acknowledging the dynamics that triggered their reaction. Watch for patterns of extreme detachment or over-explaining, both stemming from the same need, to trust one's emotions and recognize that reactive abuse does not define one's true nature. The sun just came out. All right, we'll just get a few more. We'll get a few more. All right. What do we have? We have needing to heal the inner teenager, which I've always heard, once you heal the inner child, you need to heal the inner teenager. And we have addressing spiritual awakening challenges. Interesting. I didn't know this card existed. Needing to heal the inner teenager. This book does not make sense to me. Just let me explain. Needing to address the inner critic is under N. Needing to release projection from others is under N. But needing to release the inner teenager is not under N. Can someone explain that to me? Inner teenager. Anyway, that confuses me. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely, Carl Jung. The inner teenager wound is the unhealed rebellion, the silent defiance, the ache of feeling misunderstood. It carries the echoes of suppressed emotions, unmet needs, and the battles fought to carve out an identity in a world that was often dismissed or controlled it. This wound manifests as difficulty with authority, fear of rejection, or a resistance to vulnerability, or a deep-seated belief that no one truly sees or understands you. It is the part of you that still flinches at criticism, that still longs for independence but fears abandonment, that wants to be both free and safe but has never quite figured out how to be both at once. Healing the inner teenager is about meeting yourself with the acceptance you never received. It's about honoring the fire inside of you, the parts that wanted to break free, to speak out, to be unapologetically you. It requires listening to the anger, the hurt, the dreams that were silenced, and letting them have space without shame. Your inner teen is not reckless. They are the keeper of your authenticity, the part of you you knew you were before the world told you otherwise. When you embrace them, you reclaim the self-trust and passion and the fearless spirit that was never meant to be lost, only understood. Journaling prompts. What was my teenage self struggling with the most, and have those wounds healed? I'm going to be honest. My higher self is saying that I have yet to work on my teenage wounds because I'm still working on my childhood wounds. How do I react to authority or rules? Do I resist them, follow them unquestioningly, or find balance? Do I still seek validation in ways that reflect my teenage insecurities? Yes, I do. Have I fully grieved any losses? Why can't I read? Have I fully grieved any losses or disappointments from my adolescence? What aspects of my teenage self do I suppress and why? How can I reconnect with the passion, curiosity, and boldness of my inner teenager? Do I ever rebel against myself, resisting healthy habits or self-discipline as a way to reclaim autonomy? What beliefs or fears from my teenage years still impact my decisions today? If my teenage self could give me advice, what would they say? How can I honor both my need for freedom and the need for stability in adulthood? I'm going to do these journaling prompts for myself later because my higher self is telling me that I need to look at my inner teenager. I'm not resonating with all of these, but I'm definitely resonating with some of them. So, a lingering wound from adolescence, often rooted in rebellion, rejection, loss of autonomy, or feeling misunderstood. This wound manifests as resistance to authority, difficulty trusting others, or a fear of repeating past mistakes. There may have been unresolved anger. My sister is just sending me message after message after message after message right now. There may be unresolved anger, a need for validation, or a struggle with self-identity, feeling torn between wanting to be independent and fearing failure. Some may experience cycles of defiance, avoiding responsibility as a way to reclaim lost freedom, while others may overcompensate, guilty, by striving for perfection to prove their worth. Emotionally, this wound can lead to impulsivity, inner conflict, a deep sense of isolation as if no one truly understands. Physically, it may manifest as restlessness, tension in the jaw, or exhaustion from carrying unprocessed rage or grief. Over time, an unhealed inner teenager wound can result in difficulty forming relationships, struggling with self-discipline, or resisting personal growth due to fear of being controlled. Watch for patterns of self-sabotage, pushing people away before they get too close, or seeking external validation in ways that mirror adolescent insecurities. And that pushing people away before they get too close, I've really worked hard to heal that, but that's definitely something I struggled with for a long time. Suppressing the inner teenager wound by either rejecting all youthful qualities, becoming rigid, overly responsible, or emotionally closed off, or by staying trapped in adolescent behaviors to avoid emotional growth. Instead of addressing the unresolved wounds of this life stage, some may suppress their teenage self entirely, dismissing their past pain as immature or unimportant, leading to emotional numbness and difficulty accessing joy. This can manifest as hyperindependence, reluctance to embrace spontaneity, or a tendency to dismiss emotions as irrational. Others may take the opposite approach, avoiding accountability, resisting adulthood, or clinging to teenage habits as a form of escapism. This can lead to a fear of responsibility, chronic procrastination, or an inability to regulate emotions in a healthy way. Some may even replicate the same unhealthy dynamics they experienced in adolescence, repeating cycles of rebellion, rejection, and self-destruction. Watch for patterns of rejecting fun, suppressing emotions to appear mature, or avoiding growth out of fear of losing one's sense of freedom. Beneath both extremes lies the same longing to integrate the lessons of youth while allowing space for authenticity, emotional freedom, and self-trust. And we also have addressing spiritual awakening challenges, which is interesting. That is one card that I haven't looked at. So, just taking a guess here. Why? It's not under spiritual. Is it under awakening? Again, love this book, but there's no rhyme or reason to how they are organized in alphabetical order. It's under A. It makes me laugh. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Joseph Campbell. Awakening is not a path of ease. It is a journey into the unknown, into the depths of all that has been hidden. The discomfort, the fear, the resistance you feel is not a sign to turn back. It is a sign that you are standing at the entrance of transformation, on the threshold. The truth that will set you free are the very ones you have avoided. The parts of yourself you fear confronting are the keys to your greatest liberation. But the mind will tell you to stay where it is safe, where life is predictable, where illusions remain intact. Growth demands that you do the opposite. This might be the only one that doesn't trigger me because I went through my awakening. Well, I've been through a few, but I went through my major one years ago. And I resisted it at the time. Every hesitation, every moment of doubt, every urge to cling to the familiar is part of the test. This is like giving me flashbacks to over 3 years ago. Will you choose comfort or will you choose truth? The cave will not destroy you, it will reveal you. It will show you your strength, your resilience, your untapped power. And when you finally step inside, past the fear, past the hesitation, you will realize the treasure was never something external, it was always you. The one who was willing to face the dark to reclaim the light. Wow, this might be the only one I don't resonate with. How do I respond when someone tries to get emotionally close to me? Journaling prompts. Do I fear being abandoned, or do I fear depending on someone too much? What childhood experiences shape the way I give and receive love? That is actually something that I've been journaling about a lot. What childhood experiences shape the way I give and receive love? Do I need to cling to relationships, push people away, or both, and why? How do I handle emotional conflict? Do I withdraw, seek reassurance, or shut down? What does a secure, stable connection look like to me, and have I ever experienced it? Do I equate emotional intimacy with safety or risk? Where does that belief come from? Have I ever sabotaged a relationship out of fear? What happened? Yes, I have. And again, this is not about me putting myself down. This is about me, by being aware of these, that's something that I've healed, thankfully. I mean, I don't believe I'm sure it'll bubble up someday and trigger me, but I always say half the challenge of doing shadow work is accepting the shadow and being able to say out loud, oh yes, I did struggle with that. Or yes, that does trigger me. I do feel like that's something I do. How do I handle being alone? Do I embrace it, fear it, or use it as a defense mechanism? What would it take for me to feel truly safe in love? A profound spiritual emergence that disrupts ordinary perception, leading to heightened sensitivity, reality questioning, and difficulty maintaining everyday life during the awakening process. This experience can manifest as sudden surges of energy, sleep disturbances, or unusual bodily sensations. There may be spontaneous visions, synchronicities, or floods of insight that feel overwhelming and disorienting. Yes, this is giving me flashbacks to 3 years ago. Relationships, careers, and personal identities may feel unstable as old paradigms dissolve, making it difficult to relate to others who are not undergoing the same transformation. Yes. This challenge often brings shifts in consciousness, a sense of reality breaking apart, and experiences of expanded awareness that can be both exhilarating and destabilizing. Watch for signs of reality dissolution, disconnection from former priorities, and an urgent need to integrate new perceptions. Suppressing spiritual awakening through rationalization, psychological labeling, or rigid adherence to conventional explanations. Rather than embracing expanded awareness, there is an attempt to repress or explain away experiences using scientific frameworks, psychiatric diagnosis, or cultural conditioning. This can manifest as excessive grounding to avoid transformation, spiritual bypassing to maintain comfort, or strict adherence to societal norms despite inner shifts. There may be a tendency to bury awakening symptoms through workaholism, substance use, or over-reliance on medication to dull spiritual sensitivity. Some may actively resist meditation, psychic experiences, or engagement with spiritual communities out of fear of losing stability or social acceptance. Watch for denial of mystical experiences, resistance to intuitive guidance, or an unconscious effort to maintain control over a reality that is already shifting beneath the surface. That was a good one. All right, so I think I'm going to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read one childhood wounding card since it's right there, still sitting there, and then we'll do the book. So we'll put that deck over there for another day. That deck, small doses. Whoa, the cards just fell everywhere. Hang on. I just made a mess. All right. So let me see which ones we've done. We've done these ones. Okay. I wanted to make sure because look at that. Those are the ones we've done. So let's shuffle some out. No, one. We're getting one. We're getting one. One. I'm going to take that one. I'm going to take this one. Go inward. It's time to connect with your inner child. That feels like the right one to me. 16. Go inward. One powerful way to connect with your inner child can be through visualization. This is a practice of seeing with your mind's eye while your physical eyes are closed. This practice can be a bit tricky for some in the beginning, so if you have never tried working with visualization, do not worry if it is a slow process. You will get there in the end. And this is reminding me of the meditations I've done where you go back in time and help you help childhood you during times of trauma. In this exercise, focus on allowing your inner child to come through your mind's eye. Find a quiet place where you can sit or lie down comfortably with minimal distractions. Once you are ready and your eyes are closed, allow your focus to travel inward towards your center. As you allow your focus to drift inward, your inner child will slowly come to you. Once they do, let them be as they are, even if there are aspects of them that you would like to change. Embrace them, listen to whatever they might have to say, and shower them with love and affection. If you are struggling to turn your focus within yourself, the Becoming Aware of Body Scan exercise on page 11 can help guide you. Well, I might have to read that for you. Journaling prompt. What feelings arise when you talk with or visualize your inner child? Do you feel love, joy, apprehension, anxiety? Ask yourself why you might feel this way whenever you meet your inner child. And page 11, let's just see. I'm just going to read this to you so that you know how to do it. In a comfortable place, close your eyes and bring your focus to your physical body. During this exercise, you may experience strong sensations in your body, no sensations in your body, or sensations that fall somewhere in between these extremes. All of these responses are normal, and the purpose of this practice is to connect with your unique body. With your eyes closed, bring your awareness to the inside of your body. Imagine what the space inside of your head feels like, and imagine opening your eyes to the inside of your head and looking around. What do you see? How does your head feel? Now that your gaze is focused inward to your body, take a few deep breaths, relaxing with each exhale. Practice bringing awareness once again to the top of your head. Does it feel heavy or light, tense or relaxed? Can you attribute any of the sensations to an emotion? Note how this area of your body feels and move downward, stopping at each area as you go along. The throat, shoulders, chest, arms, and so forth. So I just wanted to read that to you because it suggested that for becoming aware. All right, so now we're going to read. Remember, this is a very long chapter, and the other day we spoke about just taking one wound at a time. So we'll just take one wound at a time. And there may be some words that I can't say. So we have the wound of judgment and the wound of overwhelm. I'm going to read both of them today. So, wound of judgment, the trigger, perceived mistakes, the root program, I am wrong, others are wrong. The trauma it stems from, parental judgment, religious punishment, arbitrary punishments, scolding, spanking, public punishment, choices as reflection of worthiness of love, sexual repression. Primary emotion that you're feeling, guilt. The defense mechanism, overcompensating. Perfectionist, OCD, black and white thinking, harshly critical, addictions, bipolar. Media choices, political, religious, polarizing, guilty pleasures. Defense mechanism, avoidant. Blunted emotions, repressed desires, indecisive, insecurity, people-pleasing, self-punishing, prude. Interests, values, right and wrong, good and bad, politics and religion, punishment, judgment, righteousness. Physical manifestation examples, canker sores, judging others, STDs, sexual guilt, liver problems, harsh criticism, urinary infection, casting blame, gallstones, guilting others, growths, holding grudges, approaches to challenges, blame, project, harsh judgment, self-punishment, condemn, criticize. Thoughts, I should have known better, they should be punished, I am wrong, they are wrong, this is unforgivable, I am being punished. Healing, replace judgment with natural consequence. What it's teaching us, reflection on choices, genuine remorse and learning. Affirmations, it is okay to make mistakes. I am doing my best. I am always learning. Natural consequences are not personal. So, the overview. In order to heal from the wound of rejection, we must see that its distortion was projected onto us. Thus, the mind has to give the rejection back to its sender, which leads to judgment. The result of this judgment, however, is guilt, which is why they go hand in hand. The main difference between the wound of rejection and the wound of judgment is that the rejection is about rejecting our fundamental sense of self as unlovable, while judgment is preoccupied with choices and punishment of wrongness. While this theme of consciousness is still wounded, it's nevertheless a progression in empowerment out of self-rejection and victimization of shame that rejects accountability and consequences. Healthy expressions of judgment cause us to learn from our mistakes so as to not repeat them. However, when it becomes an obsession of the mind, it is destructive, cruel, and harsh. The limiting beliefs of judgment do not allow joy into our lives because the standards for reaching or maintaining perfection are impossible and unrealistic. Judgment is a self-imposed mental and spiritual torture in which we hold ourselves and others accountable to impossible standards. It pours salt in the wound and holds a crushing weight over us. Judgment doesn't let go of the past. It holds a grudge and is unable to forgive itself or others. It clings to the flawed realization that we should all be perfect or should know better. Any perception of a mistake is unacceptable. Judgment is obsessed with should and should not, right and wrong, good and bad. All of these are defense mechanisms of the ego that it uses to protect itself from ever being hurt again, accidentally becoming the new source of its pain. The root program belief behind all judgment stems from misunderstanding the difference between judgment and consequence. Judgment is partial, biased, and can only come from a limited, arbitrary perspective. Meanwhile, consequence is impartial, unconditional, and simply a natural, unbiased repercussion of Judgment has been used as a force of manipulation for eons through creating gods of judgment and wrath that we have to plead with, and seek forgiveness from, or else. All of it is a projection of our own ego mind's fear and fantasies of self-rejection. None of it is actually happening except in our own mind. The ego's guilt creates its own demons to fear judgment from, and then projects them as coming from outside itself, especially in the form of religious misunderstandings of God. Somewhere in our lives, this belief of judgment, and therefore guilt, was inherited through some form of intimidation as a way of making us afraid of any sense of error. For example, being beaten, hurt, or threatened as punishment for doing something wrong. Intellectually, it manifests as a fear of being seen as stupid or less than for making mistakes. While the intentions of parents, teachers, or religions may have been loving and innocent, unfortunately, the concept of judgment is flawed from the beginning and will only bring suffering. For judgment itself is another ego delusion, just like shame and guilt it propagates. Just like the guilt and shame it propagates. Triggers. Due to the ego mind's obsession with wrongness, all the triggers associated with judgment will have to do with perceived mistakes. The ego may also overcompensate through obsession with being perfect in order to avoid or hide guilt. Its standards for everyday life will become impossible and unrealistic. No one will ever meet them. It will be staunch and brutal in its judgments of itself, others, and any perceived errors it projects onto, even judging the weather for what it should or shouldn't be. Accompanying thoughts will be overly critical and unforgiving. Examples may sound like, I should have known better, they should know better, this is wrong, you are wrong, they are wrong, this is unacceptable, I deserve to be punished, I, they, or this is wrong for being this way. I love feeling proud in my own body, that was the affirmation. This is unforgivable. How could they? I hate sin. I hate evil. Sin, evil is wrong and shouldn't exist. They should be punished. I hate hypocrisy. There needs to be justice. This is so unjust. They broke the agreement. They disobeyed. This is immoral. I hate the unjust. The way to heal the wound of judgment is to surrender and admit that as humans, we are not capable of making accurate judgments. The limited human mind has no idea why things are the way they are. It cannot grasp the infinite details of the universe and the eternal scales of existence, and so it must give up thinking it is capable of judging anything appropriately. Humility is the ultimate healer for this theme by surrendering the role of playing the judge. Humility arises from accepting that we can't hold ourselves accountable for something we literally did not know at the time of our choice. Just because we understand the repercussions of our choice now does not mean we understood them accurately at the time of the choice. We are not capable of knowing the future and the infinite details of every choice we make. Lastly, even if we knew the wiser choice in the moment, we may still have lacked the strength and conviction to actually choose the higher choice. Thus, we are always doing the best we can with what we are capable of doing at the time. Luckily, divine love's compassion is unconditional. Because we are always innocent and unconditionally loved by divinity, we are the only ones holding on to guilt. No one else is keeping tally. Everyone experiences the natural consequences of their own choices and determines their own eternal destiny through their spiritual free will. From a higher perspective, there's nothing to actually forgive, and we are all innocent. In a universe that is connected with an extension of the same source, we are all the same one. And therefore, to judge anything or anyone is to only judge ourselves. There is no judgment necessary in a universe that is innately perfect, balanced, and always harmonious. Consequence is eternally unfolding in every moment. It is only our limited point of view that creates judgments and perceives wrongness or lack. Judgment is a perfect example of the mind creating enemies that don't actually exist. The spiritual truth that judgment impersonates is actually consequence. Consequence just is. It is the natural repercussion of any choice or action. It doesn't require judgment. It is impartial and unbiased, like gravity. Therefore, to make destructive choices is to attract to oneself destructive consequences. That is what all spiritual teachings are trying to convey. All choices have consequences, not judgment. Ironically, the consequence of judging another is to be subject to the torment of our own judgments. To project negativity onto others is to only attract the reciprocal negativity to ourselves. To believe in enemies is to make enemies. To condemn others is to condemn ourselves. The most empowered choice, then, is to do our own inner work and take accountability for our own choices and stop worrying about others' actions. Let them work out their own destiny. All we have to do is focus on our responses to life and the consequences they are creating for us. We are the only ones responsible for our spiritual destiny. Judgment, guilt, and blame bring only suffering. The unconditional, infinite love of life responds equitably to our to our own choices, and we are all eternally free to choose ourselves. Thus, if we resist love, we suffer. If we accept love, we enjoy. All guilt can be washed away in an instant if we could only accept our innocence and humility as humans. We are completely loved even as we make mistakes, which is so simple it is hard for the ego mind to accept. Instead, the mind fantasizes that in order to heal our guilt, we must be punished or make some sort of sacrifice in order to be forgiven. This is not the absolute truth, but only a projection of how guilt views reality. From a more liberated, loving perspective, we do not need to earn forgiveness or love back. We are innately loved and forgiven in any moment. We just need to stop resisting it. All perceived mistakes, imperfections, or sin is only a reflection of innocent misunderstanding at the time. A natural consequence will follow every choice. There is perfect accountability and justice in the universe. There is no need for additional guilt that is self-destructive and causes even more suffering for self and others. Divine love is ever present and internally flowing, without condition or requirement. All we must do is remember, allow, and accept it. We can let go of guilt by inviting a higher perspective of humility for our limitations. We are always doing the best we can with what we know and need not hold judgment over ourselves any longer. Focus solely on the present, what you can learn from your choices, and let the past go. Through consequence, we are deciding our new life trajectory in every new moment. And even as we make mistakes, we are always learning and recreating anew. Now is the only moment that actually exists. The past is not who we are anymore. We do not have to continue to drag it with us. The way to transcend guilt and judgment is to let go of playing judge and allow natural consequences to unfold, even if those consequences feel overwhelming to face. Find the lesson in the choices we made and move forward implementing the newfound wisdom. Decide right now to become more loving, more forgiving, and more compassionate, and it will be so. Invite and allow more love for yourself. Let the burden of guilt go. And I'm just going to read the next one. Oh, there's still more. Whoopsie. New narrative. I guess I just didn't know any better at the time. It seemed like a good idea at the time. I am always in the process of becoming. I'm doing the best I can right now. Others are always doing the best they can. I don't know someone else's story. I don't know the battles other people are facing. I don't know how deep this goes. I don't know the eternal scale of this situation. Everyone is doing the best they can with what they know. I grow through my mistakes. I am loved even as I make mistakes. God loves me. I am not wrong, only learning. I forgive myself and others. I am not my mistakes. I let go of grudges. I am perfect, whole, and complete with my perceived mistakes. Mistakes are a part of the learning process. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay for others to make mistakes. While my actions may have painful consequences, my soul is always innocent while learning. And I'm just going to read the next one because this one isn't that long. Wound of overwhelm. So the trigger, inability to cope and overwhelm. The root program, what's the point? Trauma it stems from. Age inappropriate responsibilities. Abuse, life-altering loss or change. Overwhelming circumstances. Compounded negative consequences, poverty. Primary emotion, hopelessness. Defense mechanism, overcompensating. Refusing to ask for help. Saying yes even if you don't have the capacity. Denial of limits, self-sacrificing. Media choices, apathetic, nihilistic. Is that how you say that? Sad stories, melodramas, depressive. Interests, values, the struggle of life, burden of obligations, disempowerment. Defense mechanism, avoidant. Depression, disassociation disorders, detachment, isolation, anxiety, PTSD, catatonia. What's that? Numbness. Physical manifestation examples: adrenal problems, hopelessness, colds, overstimulated, overstressed, gastritis, overwhelmed about the future, rounded shoulders, carrying too much, pneumonia, exhausted by life. Approaches to challenges: shut down, detach, abandon hope, take on more than you can handle, mental, physical breakdown. Thoughts: why bother? It's too much. I'm incapable. I'm a burden. Nothing will work. Healing: allow feelings and ask for help. What it's teaching us: realize limits, humility to ask for help from others or a higher power. Affirmations: I accept help. To feel is to heal. There is a way out. God, divinity, help me. This will pass. Overview. As consciousness heals from rejection and judgment, we may become apathetic and numb towards our situation because it seems too overwhelming to feel the weight of our choices or someone else's. While this is still obviously a limiting energy state, it is at least not preoccupied with hating and tearing itself down and others through the judgment and rejection. Thus, overwhelm blocks the unpleasant emotions of sadness or pain, but doesn't let itself be hopeful or optimistic. Which one of you is eating now? Why do I feel hungry all of a sudden? I had a snack before I came here. What are you eating? I want to know. Where was I? Somebody's eating something. I can sense it. Thus, overwhelm blocks the unpleasant emotions of sadness or pain, but doesn't let itself be hopeful or optimistic about life. Instead, overwhelm has now just given up altogether and doesn't know how to help itself. It has all become too much. As a defense mechanism to cope with the overwhelm of life's tasks, facing consequences, past traumas, shame, or guilt, we may resort to a flat effect, a detachment to life, a lack of care or interest, boredom, and rejection of participation. In this state, we are not necessarily able to make a change, but we also don't have the energy to keep destroying our life. We just don't care at all. To the ego mind trapped in overwhelm, everything is pointless and nothing matters anymore. All common root beliefs that reinforce overwhelm. I'm hearing a song. What song am I hearing? I'm hearing Queen. Queen? Anyway. What song is that? Is it We Are the Champions I'm hearing? Isn't there a line in that song? Nothing really matters. Anyway, I don't know why I'm hearing that so strongly. Are you eating yummy food and listening to Queen? All common root beliefs that reinforce overwhelm will be regarding an inability to face reality, to take action and experience the consequences, or to feel our true emotions. That was weird. Overwhelm may be triggered by any trauma, such as the loss of our sexual innocence, a spouse, a job, money, parents getting a divorce, parents passing away. getting in an accident, losing physical abilities. It can even be triggered by dwelling on the loss of time in our lives that we spent trapped in the wounds of rejection or judgment. Thus, it now seems pointless and too late to change now. Any loss that we are unable to cope with might trigger the mind to formulate an attachment to how hopeless life is. The ego mind won't want to do anything to seek change and instead only complain and wallow. 5 of Cups. It is the epitome of stick in the mud. In response to any solution, it will revert to thinking, why bother? Everything feels too overwhelming. In extreme cases, the ego stuck in overwhelm will refuse to eat or take care of itself, or may even become catatonic. Maybe I'm hungry because one of you needs to eat. Eat something. The wound of overwhelm is apathetic and feels nothing as a way of coping. Accompanying thoughts of overwhelm are things like, oh, it's too much, I just can't do it, I will probably just fail, it will probably fall apart eventually, I'm incapable, I'm a burden, no one wants to help me, I'm an inconvenience, God doesn't care about me, just leave me, abandon hope, God won't help me, I'm dead weight, it's impossible, the odds are too against me, I shouldn't even try, there's no point. That's not an affirmation. Nothing will work. It's hopeless. What's the point? I can't possibly face this. I feel nothing. I don't care. Healing. The avoidance of sadness and the inability to ask for help is what perpetuates overwhelm. To heal the wound of overwhelm, we must allow ourselves to feel, we need to allow ourselves to feel and face the heavy emotions of grief and loss, which are natural to life. Accepting the weight of life's losses, or the consequence of our self-destructive habits can be overwhelming, yet is necessary in order to move forward in our healing and awaken our true power of spiritual will. While the themes of judgment and rejection project blame for their situation, overwhelm is paralyzed at the thought of having to take accountability and own its responses to life's circumstance. Thus, transition may require assistance from a higher energy field to help the mind shift into the beginning of building or rebuilding its self-esteem. We may need to call upon others for support, such as counseling, religious guidance, or the camaraderie of friendship, or an anonymous group, or soul tribe. Spiritually, we must invite and ask a higher power to give us strength and courage in order to face our situation. This invitation is essential because hopelessness, in and of itself, cannot possibly move forward on its own. To heal the wound of overwhelm, we have to reframe our perception of loss in the form of facing it through allowing grief and asking for help. Even if it's just to ask for encouragement and be reminded that we can do this. Through our mirror invitation and curiosity, we will find guidance out. All we must do is allow. There is nothing that needs to be done. Thinking that moving on is something arduous will only reinforce overwhelm. All we have to do is ask, and that's it. It is the humble prayer of the contrite soul. Universe, divine, God, if you exist, please help me through this. This how is not up to us. There is hope if we invite ourselves to see it. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a way out. Anything could happen. We are never trapped and can always choose anew at any moment. New narrative. I can ask for help. There is a way out. God, divinity, spirit, give me strength. God, divinity, spirit, help me. I accept help. I accept guidance. It's okay to not know what to do. Anything could happen. I accept miracles could happen. I am open. I allow myself to be sad. I allow myself to cry and grieve. To feel is to heal. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to get through this. I can face this. This too shall pass. Others want to support me. I am not a burden. It's okay to be not okay. All will be revealed in due time. When I don't know what to do, I can ask for help. So that's that one. And then I'll probably do 2 more the next time we do Soul Tribe. So My friends, apparently I need to go eat something now because of one of you. Blame, judgment. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Probably I didn't eat enough today, so I'm going to go eat something. But thank you for reading that book with me, and thank you for sitting through the wounding. I know it can be triggering. And as always, my friends, thank you for being here with me, and I am sending you lots of love and light, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.